I know this may be a surprise to some of you, but there's actual bipartisanship happening right now on two major bills. There are talks about who is going to be replacing Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen. And lastly, I want to go over this study that was found covering the detrimental state our military is in right now. So, starting off today, we're going to be talking about the first bill that is supposed to be proposed today. And like I stated, it has bipartisanship. Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Bob Menendez are both supporting it. Rubio is a Republican from Florida, and Menendez is a Democrat representing New Jersey. There's also Congressman, Republican Rep. Chris Smith from New Jersey and Democratic Tom Suozzi of New York are also sponsoring the bill. And what this bill aims to do is actually put the State Department, FBI, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to produce a series of reports that detail everything from the scale and scope of Chinese crackdown on Muslims to a list of Chinese companies involved in building and running the camps. This comes from an article from Political. And this, as it stated, is aiming at targeting Chinese companies and officials who are participating in this endorsement of torturing and forcing people who do not believe in the Communistic Party to enter this camp and be essentially brainwashed and tortured until they start to chant the president's name, until they start to sing communist songs. There's about 1 million Muslims in there right now, and they've been heavily targeted. And the bill also aims to put a constant watch from the State Department on the city Xinjiang, I believe is the city's name, where the concentration camp is held. And they want to make sure that this is be made aware to the international community that this is against human rights, and they want to do something about it. We've covered this extensively in another episode of mine about other things that happen in these camps, and actually UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has called out China on this in the UN. So people have become vocal about this, and it's starting to gain traction in the mainstream media as of right now, which is a good thing because we need to be aware of places like China and what they're willing to do to people who don't believe in what they believe in. And it's also important to realize that the United States is by no means even close to China when it comes to its racism and bigotry. China is literally imprisoning people because of their religion and prosecuting them because of that alone, and forcing them to believe in their ideology. Now, fortunately, we have people in our Senate who are in Congress who are stepping up and wanting to put legislation to attack what's going on right now. So this is an awesome thing. This should be very much a relief to everybody, in my opinion, because with the political climate that we're in right now, it seemed very unlikely for major legislation, even though some may not say this is major legislation. To me it is. I follow a lot of news that goes on in China, and I think we should pay close attention to China, all of us. They pose a serious threat to the United States, especially now since we're in a trade war and tensions at the South China Sea are increasing, and our military members that are overseas fear that war between us and China may break out. And there are experts saying that war with China may happen within 15 years. So I believe it is very, very vital for Americans to understand what's going on with China right now and be aware of legislation that is going to affect the Chinese. So we'll see exactly where this goes. Like I stated, it's supposed to be proposed today, and we'll see where it goes. The other bill that is being proposed and actually already passed the House unanimously with 360 people in favor and 59 people disagreeing with it. The people who disagreed with this bill I'll just let you know why they don't like it right off the bat. It's the First Step Act, and it's aimed at prison reform, criminal justice reform. The reason people who don't like the bill are voting against it is because they say it doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough for people who have received certain drug charges or immigration charges. It doesn't do enough to reduce sentencing, etc. They're saying it is too weak and not enough change is being done from this act. However, this is what the act is doing right now. So I'm reading this from the First Steps Act website, where you can go and write your senator, telling them your support for the bill. And I'll just read this right off of here. So it says, bans the shackling of pregnant and postpartum women, ensures people are placed in facilities within 500 driving miles from their families, creates an earned time credit system that allows people to earn 10 days of credit for every 30 days of programming and shortening their time in prison to be served instead in halfway houses, home confinement, or on community suspension, compels the BOB, which is Bureau of Prisons, to match individual needs to programs, training, services so that men and women return home job ready, provide an ID card for every person when they are released, bring home 4,000 people immediately due to retroactive good time credits, and then this is the sentence reform that is a part of the bill as well. It's free judges from handling down disproportionate sentencing, lower lifetime mandatory minimum sentences for people with prior nonviolent drug felony convictions to 25 years, and reduce 20-year mandatory minimum sentences for similar offenses to 15 years. Apply the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010, which reduces the disparity between crack cocaine and cocaine related offensive retroactively, expands exceptions to the application of mandatory minimum sentences to more people with criminal history. This, to me, appears to be a great first step, as in the name, no pun intended, to initiating criminal reform. I say this because, first off, it is implementing the Obama administration's act, the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010, and actually helping people who are currently in prison and being able to reduce their sentencing right now due to that, because they said that it will be retroactively. So people who were disproportionately punished for crack cocaine usage were African Americans, and they served higher sentences than those who went to jail for cocaine when they are the same exact drug. So there was a lot of controversy around it, which in my opinion, it does appear to be racially motivated, that the crack cocaine charges were astronomically higher than those of cocaine. And you had to have less crack cocaine to receive huge sentencing, whereas for cocaine you needed to have larger amount to receive the equal sentencing. And typically crack cocaine is used by African Americans, so it was anyway. Obviously anybody could be using it, but at the time of this unjust sentencing, it appeared to affect African Americans disproportionately as opposed to white people, and cocaine apparently was used more frequently by white people. So that's why there was controversy around that, and that's why the Obama administration made the Fair Sentencing Act, which basically leveled that out and took away the unjust sentencing. And what this is trying to do is make sure that people who are still in there due to that unjust sentencing can actually benefit from the Fair Sentencing Act. I think this is an awesome move, and it gets the ball rolling. The thing with change is that it doesn't happen dramatically, and you can't do it dramatically. It could significantly damage a culture and a society as a whole if changes are implemented instantly. you have to have gradual build-up to that change, so that way society and the culture as a whole can adjust to what's happening. You can't just throw something brand new at it and expect it not to cause chaos. The best way to, in situations like criminal justice reform, is to take slow steps until it satisfies what the Democrats want. And quite frankly, I have to agree with them. I think on a lot of things, our criminal justice system is very unfair. My personal opinion is that people who have not committed any acts of violence or damaged somebody's property or stole something from somebody else, they shouldn't receive any federal prison time or jail time for that matter. Maximally, we could charge them a penalty, a fee. But by no means do I believe somebody who hasn't hurt somebody else or stole their property or damaged their property deserves any prison time. That's my opinion. So yeah, I agree that maybe this doesn't go as far as it should, as in helping certain individuals out, but it is a step in the right direction, which is why we should support it. I also believe that, I also think that all drugs should be legal as well. I don't think people should go to jail for using drugs. I think that if you didn't punish people for nonviolent crimes, and if you didn't punish people for, I know drug offenses typically go in the nonviolent category, but, I'll just add both of these to my scenario right now to what I'm trying to get at. If you, don't jail people for nonviolent crimes and you don't penalize people for owning drugs or doing drugs, then you'll save a tremendous amount of money on the prison side of it, where we don't have to spend tax dollars on housing more inmates. And secondly, you can tax the hell out of all those drugs. So you'll save money and then make money as well by the two things that I believe should be enacted, where all drugs should be legal and no people who haven't committed nonviolent acts shouldn't be put in jail. Those two things would, I think, help out our economy tremendously and help out our government tremendously as well. This is a beautiful thing that's happening, that we're getting the ball rolling on criminal justice reform. This is especially significant being that conservatives are typically hard-nosed when it comes to criminals, and they don't typically take kindly to people of whether it be a drug offense or a nonviolent offense. If it's the law, they want to keep it the law. That's typically the conservative temperament when it comes to these kind of things. So it is really surprising to see this legislation get bipartisan support in the House. It's going to the Senate. President Trump, I believe, has stated he will support the bill if it passes through the Senate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is going to put the bill to a vote on the floor later this week. We'll see exactly what happens with that, so we'll keep an eye on both of these bills. But this is very promising that we have bipartisanship, and in my opinion, two major pieces of legislation here. We'll see exactly where this goes as they enter the floor. We'll see who votes for them and who doesn't, and we'll go from there. Now, going to Homeland Security Chief Kirstjen Nielsen and whether or not she'll stay. As of right now, President Trump hasn't answered a yes or no as to whether he will keep her and or Chief of Staff John Kelly. What we do have, though, are a couple of potential nominees to fill Kirstjen Nielsen's spot at Homeland Security. One of those people is Kevin McAllen, and currently he is the commissioner for the U.S. Custom and Border Protection. He was actually supported by people in both the George W. Bush administration and the Obama administration, saying that he was saying that they enthusiastically support him and that he is definitely qualified for the position. He before doing this, he was the director of Los Angeles International Airports. He also helped develop and implement comprehensive and anti-terrorist strategy for border security after won September 11th, which gave him the award of Service to American Medal. He also was awarded the Presidential Rank Award, which is the highest civilian service award in the United States. So this is a likely pick for President Trump. We'll see, if he's going to pick him. As of right now, he is the one working on the border control. And so it would seem a likely fit for him to go to the Homeland Security and fill Nielsen's role. However, my opinion, I think this other person who's potentially going to be nominated for the position may be the candidate President Trump picks. His name is David Pegosky, and he is a veteran. He served 33 years active duty in the Coast Guard. He retired as the 26th Vice Commandant of the Coast Guard back in 2010. Right now, he is the Transportation Security Administration. The reason I believe that he may be President Trump's pick is, as we all know, President Trump likes to pick people who have military service, especially when it comes to things like Homeland Security. For instance, he has John Kelly as the Chief of Staff, although there are rumors that he's going to leave, and the Defense Department head of Jim Mattis, who has military service as well. He's in that top-ranking position. So it seems to me that David Pegosky is probably going to be President Trump's pick. We don't know, however, who is going to be picked, and we don't even know if Kirstjen Nielsen is going to leave. This is all speculation, once again, folks. This is just rumors that are being heard. It doesn't seem very unlikely that Kirstjen Nielsen will leave, because President Trump has been complaining about her since before she was even nominated. And it doesn't seem unlikely that John Kelly is going to leave either, being that there's been rumors of him leaving since the summer, July 31st. So we'll see exactly what happens as we get, as things unfold. There's a lot of things that we're just waiting to see what's going to happen with. And one of those things is right now with these two positions. So we'll see. In my opinion, like I've stated, I think David Pegosky is going to be the one to fill that role. We'll see, though. Now, moving on to other news with a study that came out today, and it was actually a study for Congress. And there were people in both the Obama administration and the Bush administration that were former top Pentagon officials who have stated we need to work on our military seriously. And we have become too complacent with our position in the world when it comes to global dominance. We are just taking for granted the fact that we're the United States of America, therefore people should respect us because we have the strongest military, the strongest economy, etc., etc. Except the former may not be the case for much longer, or may not be the case anymore. China and Russia appear to be advancing at a faster rate than we are when it comes to military improvements. This is why it is so vital for us to contribute more money to the military. People talk about the military getting too much money and we should stop funding the military because of the useless wars we're in. I do agree with the latter portion of that. We are in a lot of useless wars. However, we do need to fund this military more. There have been studies coming out prior to this that have stated that our defense weapon system has huge cybersecurity flaws. There was an article that I read from The Hills, an opinion piece from, I believe, he was something in the Navy. I can't remember exactly, but it was titled, "To Prevent War, You Have to Prepare." And he covered the fact that our Navy is a lot weaker than it used to be. Our Army's a lot weaker than it used to be. It's nowhere near what it used to be. Same goes for the Marines. And that we need to do some serious improvements so that way we can compete with the likes of China and the likes of Russia, because they are slowly catching up to us. Within 10 to 15 years, I believe the article stated that China will have twice the size of the Navy as we do. And, obviously there's talks about increasing in nuclear warheads, and Russia, China having more than the United States, that being a threat. China, with the technology side of things, is also scary. There's talks of them making a exclusive AI school in competition with the United States. so that way they can try to get the upper hand when it comes to AI. So this study, found that we have a lot of work to do and that we may not be able to win a war with China or Russia. This is one of the quotes. Let's see. So this is a quote from the article I'm reading right here, which is part of the study. It's from Stars and Stripes. It says the United States could suffer unacceptably high casualties and loss of major capital assets in its next conflict. It might struggle to win or perhaps lose a war against China or Russia, the report said. The United States is particularly at risk of being overwhelmed should its military be forced to fight on two or more fronts simultaneously. There's talks that the Obama administration is at fault for weakening our military, which is true to some extent. I do believe that this is negligence on other administrations as well. This has been one of those things that we just keep kicking the can down the road. We need to really improve our military. We need to definitely focus on cyber terrorism a lot more. And we need to work on improving our cyber capabilities as a whole, which is actually a bill that came out that is going to try to do just that with cyber protection. It's going to actually be a part of the Department of Homeland Security. I can't remember exactly what the bill was called, but I just read the article today in The Hill that there is talks of, a cyber department coming to the Homeland Security to help work with just that. So we'll see where that goes. But as far as this article goes, this should be an eye-awakening, this should be an eye-opening thing to us that we really, really, really should consider strengthening our military. This shouldn't be something that we debate about. This should be something that we're like, okay, we need a strong military in order for America to stay the way it is. The only reason people don't come over here and attack America is because we are the strongest nation in the world as of right now, both economically and when it comes to military power. And we have a lot of allies, and our enemies, are far few and in between. Although they are powerful, we have allies that will support us, and we have military bases across the world. So there's a lot of things that keep people from actually posing a serious threat to the United States of America. However, if our military starts weakening up and America's economy starts tanking, which both of those scenarios aren't as unlikely as people would like them to be, which is the scary thing, is that those two things could be very probable, especially in an unpredictable world, which we live in. So this is something that we should all be very wary of and take in consideration when we elect people into office on whether or not they're going to do things for our military. Are they going to try to defund our military to try to support healthcare for all? If that's the case, you should be aware that they are literally helping the collapse of America. I say this because an article came out in the Wall Street Journal stating that we are about to pay more in interest than we do in Medicaid by 2020. That's on our national debt. We're about to pay more in interest on our national debt than we do in Medicaid by 2020. And we're about to pay more in interest than we do for our whole national defense by the time 2023 comes around. So people who are saying that they want to defund the military to support Medicare for all are literally helping the demise of America. They are not doing anything to benefit us. This is a short-term benefit, but the problem will not be solved. Not even one bit. It'll just be increased significantly. So we have to be very mindful of who we're electing into office and what their agendas are. We should not, in my opinion, I think it should be everybody's opinion. I think this is a fact. I don't even think this is an opinion. We should not support people who want college for all for free, who want health care for all for free, to abolish ICE. The reason I say these things is because entitlements are literally drowning this country right now. It isn't military. About 60% of the federal budget goes to entitlements. Social Security is about to be completely depleted by 2034. Before that, Medicaid is supposed to be depleted by 2029, which means that people who are receiving those benefits will no longer be able to receive them because the government can't afford them. Yeah. We need to talk about entitlement reform, and we need to talk about improving our military. These are two vital things to our country. We should not be for free healthcare and free college, because it isn't free. It's going to cause you and I to be taxed disproportionately higher than most countries around right now. Seriously. Unless they're a socialist country, of course. You're talking about a middle class tax that is going to be about 50% of your paycheck. That is huge. That is huge. That's what they do over in the Scandinavian countries that the left talks about, well, the radical left talks about so frequently. They literally have income taxes of 60% on people who make $50,000 to $60,000 a year. That is huge. But they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that. They're just going to say it's going to be free. It's not going to be free. It's going to cost you when it comes to your finances. It's going to hurt your wallet, and it's going to hurt your country to vote for people like that. It really is. So please be vigilant in your research and be aware, and don't not buy into the propaganda. We really need to care about our military, and we really need to talk about entitlement reform. These are two vital things to our country. So I hope you all enjoyed the show today. I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday as well. We'll be back again tomorrow. Peace.